Hello wonderful people, how are you? Today I'm talking about a bit of argy-bargy. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So in a recent conversation I was asking how things are going, and they said things are going at a phenomenal pace. A phenomenal pace. And I think we can all agree they certainly are. But then they said, obviously, because things are going at a phenomenal pace, we've got to expect that the pace of the baddies will also be going at a phenomenal pace too. And I think we can see that. And it made me think of the World Economic Forum latest gathering that they had. And every year, I mean, it's just it's a beautiful thing to watch the most boring people getting together that have got how they can get any more than 3 people in the same room with the egos that the size of the egos that they have. I mean, they are enormous. I remember watching John Kerry, that really interesting man, hypocrite, clearly, who was talking about the fact that, it's incredible how we can get together and decide the fate of mankind. That is what's called the God complex. And I think all of them have it. All of them have it. I watched the most incredible, I don't know if you remember me talking about the daughter of Klaus Schwab and the son of George Soros and saying, who the fuck are they? What have they done except to be shot, up the vagina of somebody by the father to create them? What have they done to deserve to be there deciding the fate of mankind? Except that the dad was famous. It's like, what the hell? My dad wasn't famous. Hence the fact that I've had to work for stuff. And probably you're in the same boat. But they didn't have to work for anything. However, George Soros' son, right? That specky lad. Well, he's 33, I think. I think he's about 33, same age as when Jesus was killed. And he sat doing a discourse with a group of panelists, whoever they were, I don't know who they were. And he was talking about democracy. Yeah? He was talking about democracy. And he talked for about, 5 minutes. I listened to what he said, and a few things struck me. I don't know if you've seen it, and if you haven't, it's just definitely worth seeing it, because this is the son of a multi-billionaire, a man who money is not an object. He pays money to everybody. Everybody is taking money from him. The George, the man with the eye bags that cover his nipples. And his son has had everything. I mean, privilege, white privilege, let's say, he's up to here with white privilege. And he cannot string a sentence together. And that's not me exaggerating. He is not capable of starting a sentence and coherently bringing it to the full stop. Even if there's just one verb in there, he isn't able to complete a full sentence without changing tack. I mean, if you transcribed his conversation, the 3 dots that you have after somebody changes tack when they're speaking, they go, well, the problem is, what I really mean to say is, what the problem is, ... The page would be full. The transcription page full of dots. And I've transcribed some things. That would be a challenge. He couldn't say a sentence without saying Now, I watched somebody who was talking about public speaking. A really, interesting guy, and he was saying the in public speaking is the death rattle. It is the death rattle of any public speaker. If you are talking and you can't express yourself without is sometimes I say and I take it out of these videos. I don't want an in there. No ums. Right? Some ums, yes, but no ums. Because it takes away the veracity of what you're saying. And he literally was like that, and he kept saying, right? Now, is a very, very dangerous little subset of a sentence. When somebody says do not nod your head, okay? Don't nod your head, shake your head, or do nothing. On the inside, if somebody says say, no, I don't. Perhaps you can explain it to me, okay? Why? Because is a tag question, but it's also a hypnotic command. If you nod your head, you are saying, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And that means you are going to accept the premise of that particular thing. Except not with George Soros' son. I don't know what his name is. I don't want to learn it. Because there was no premise to the sentence. There's no sense to the sentence. He is a senseless person. He was trying to say something and said nothing. And said nothing at all of any sense. So either he was trying to skirt around saying something without saying it, and he did a fucking good job there, because he said something without saying anything, and generally, or he was just really bad, or he was just the worst public speaker that you could possibly imagine. Now, I would imagine that in his training, in his multiple years of having one-to-one tutors or whatever, I would imagine that he's had a bit of practice at public speaking, but no, clearly not. Biggest pile of shit ever. My 7-year-old son could publicly speak better than him. So, and these are the people who aspire to look after the world, who aspire to know more than us. He doesn't even know how to make a sentence. So quite how he's going to run the world is another thing. Anyway, in the WEF, getting back to the WEF, they have changed tack. Did you notice? Because when they got together before with the Greta, the Greta Thunberg, it was all the change of the climate, and it was all that, but not this year. They've done a hierarchy of needs, a hierarchy of danger. You've probably seen it. The hierarchy of danger. The change of the climate's gone down to number 3. It's dropped. It's dropped down. And number 1, the biggest, most present danger, is disinformation and misinformation. That's the one. Why on earth would they be worried about that? Why on earth? If it's disinformation and misinformation, why? Why are they worried? Because we're in the middle of the Great Awakening. And people are finding out at least another version of the truth. And they're seeing that. And what they're seeing is that alternative media is exploding. Now, they've tried to piggyback the alternative media by creating alternative media stations. But they're getting found out. We're not stupid. We're not idiots. And we know when we start seeing that same pattern, which is we'll tell you what, we'll tickle your ears. Have you heard the ear ticklers? It talks about in the Bible. We'll tickle your ears and then we'll give you the real agenda. And we're getting very wise to that. It's obvious. And there are loads of alternative media that are not ear tickling. They're kind of just saying it as it is. Just saying it as it is. And so what the emissaries were saying about all of that, oh, by the way, the WEF also have invented a new word, which is ecocide. Have you heard of it? Ecocide. And that's basically anybody who farms the land is committing ecocide. Anyone who might want to turn over a bit of soil to produce some food, anyone who might want to raise animals to produce a bit of food, raise vegetables to, whatever. Ecocide. And that's, I don't know whether that was number 2 problem. I think it might have been number 2 problem. But that's basically what they're worried about. But the number 1 is misinformation and disinformation, and that tickled me. But as the emissary said, as the ante is upped, and the uncle, then we've got to prepare ourselves for a bit of argy-bargy. That's what their words, well actually that's kind of how their words translated, a bit of argy-bargy. And they showed me an image of a tug of war. And what they said is we're in this tug of war. And, there was an equal amount, or there's more people on their side who were always tugging, and the rope was moving toward them. But loads of people are abandoning the ship, like rats running off the ship. And they're coming over to our side, and they're starting to pull from our side. And so we are having more and more people on the tug of war on our side, and they're having less and less. But the emissaries then just showed me, we went to the end of the rope, because they're very visual, sometimes. I like what they do. And the rope's tied on our end. So it can never be pulled back, because that's a story that the Great Awakening can only happen in one direction. It can never go back. And so the only thing that can happen is that at the moment, we mightn't be able to move it very much, but the more people that come on our side, the more we're going to move it, and then we're going to pull the fuckers until they fall over. And they will fall over. So that's where we are. That's where we are. It's argy-bargy time. Argy-bargy. But that's okay, because without the argy-bargy, there'll be no shifting. Okay, so there you are. So if you, the son of George Soros, are watching this video, and I very much doubt it, look me in the eyes and just fuck off. Go and learn how to speak properly before you make an absolute tit of yourself, which you did. You made a tit of yourself, and everybody is talking about you now. All your credibility, whatever you had, has gone. Even with people who believe who you are. Credibility down the shitter. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.